So anyway, what do you think of the way the church has changed over the last 60, 70 years? You know,
All right.
It's had to go through a lot of changes.
We can say that after the French Revolution, ideas came into not just Europe, which were anti-clerical, anti-church, anti-Christian, but ideas seeped into the church itself, which were contrary to traditional Catholicism. The popes through the 19th century fought against those and spoke against them. We have the syllabus of errors of Blessed Pope Pius IX of 1864. By the way, that Council of Florence was 1441 to 1442. Let's get my dates, you know, they finally emerge in my head. But yeah, the syllabus of errors of 1864. Then we get writings of Pius IX's successor, Leo XIII, which are against these ideas called modernism, and you get the culminating in action by Pope Saint Pius X. When he writes a lot against modernism, he brings down a lot of pressure to bear it. No, he didn't have glasses, but Benedict, his successor, Benedict XV, who was Pope from 1914 to 1922, wore glasses, and his successor, Pius XI, who was from 1922 to 1939, wore glasses, and his successor, Pius XII, 1939 to 1958, wore glasses. So, you know, that's the way it is when we get old, don't we? You just start wearing them. Anyway, your point is about the changes.
They had to go through certain changes.
But the reason I mentioned all that little bit of history, is because we had a fight against something called modernism going on, and it was suppressed by the papacy. Then the Second Vatican Council happened, and the thought was that you don't need to suppress these ideas anymore. You can, instead of acting in a very dictatorial way, you could simply allow people to air their ideas and perhaps have dialogue about various ideas, and the truth of the Catholic faith will prevail. This idea, amongst many ideas, animated the Second Vatican Council, I think, animated Pope Paul VI, who was the key pope of the Second Vatican Council and the aftermath of the Second Vatican Council. What was not realised at the time, or was realised too late, is that in the 1960s, you got a combination of events, which is the rise of the mass media, the rise of mass consumerism, social revolution, in the West. And this all together meant that modernism could act as if it had just gone on steroids. And it would be very hard, because of the mass media, for the church to control the agenda in the way it could prior to then. People who, like Hans Kung, one of the most famous priests of this time, was able to, despite being suppressed by the church, still able to get to the media and spread his ideas around. What we've had in the end is a papacy after the Second Vatican Council, which has been much weaker than the papacy prior to the Second Vatican Council, partly because of the council, partly because of the times, and partly because of the neglect, the negligence of the popes themselves. This doesn't mean the church has changed, it means individual popes have changed, it means bishops have changed and priests have changed. That's a fact. But the church doesn't change, its doctrine can't change. Popes might say this, that and the other, strange stuff, but it isn't doctrine. You can ignore it. You want to know what the Catholic Church teaches, go to the Catechism.
The Catechism, yeah. So you feel like that's kind of remained kind of consistently throughout the centuries?
That's right. For example, divorce remains unacceptable. Remarriage remains unacceptable while your spouse is still alive, unless there's an annulment. Christ is still God. There's still a Holy Trinity. The moral laws remain the same. The moral law remains the same across the board. But of course, bishops, even popes might say things that diverge from that. But they can't teach that officially.